Hey, welcome back. In this video, we're going to talk about something you do dozens of times every day without even realizing it, why you can't stop scrolling, and more importantly, who specifically designed it that way. So sit back, because this one is going to make you look at your phone very differently. And if you enjoy what we do here, hit that subscribe button and give this video a like. It genuinely helps more than you think. You picked up your phone to check one thing. That was 47 minutes ago. You didn't decide to keep scrolling. You didn't choose to lose track of time. And you definitely didn't plan to feel this weird, hollow guilt when you finally put it down. So here's the question nobody wants to answer. What if it wasn't your fault? What if the reason you can't stop has nothing to do with willpower, laziness, or self-control? What if you were engineered to fail? Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you will never look at your phone the same way again. You do this too. Think about the last time you opened Instagram, or TikTok, or YouTube. You weren't bored. You weren't looking for anything specific. You just reached for it, almost automatically, like your hand moved before your brain did. Sound familiar? Here's something even stranger. Studies show the average person checks their phone 96 times a day. That's once every 10 minutes, and most of the time, they have no memory of deciding to do it, and that feeling right after you put it down, and that slight emptiness, that I wasted time but I still want more loop that makes no logical sense, that's not a personality flaw, that's a feature. Because somewhere in a glass office in Silicon Valley, a team of some of the world's smartest behavioral psychologists, neuroscientists, and engineers sat down with one single goal: make it impossible to stop. And they succeeded beyond anything they publicly admit. The science. Here's what's actually happening inside your brain every single time you scroll. Your brain runs on a chemical called dopamine. And most people think dopamine is the pleasure chemical. But that's not quite right. Dopamine doesn't get released when you get a reward. It gets released in anticipation of one. That split second before the next video loads, that's dopamine. That moment you pull down to refresh and wait for new content, that's dopamine. That tiny electric jolt when you see a notification badge appear, dopamine. Your brain doesn't care what the reward actually is. Just needs the possibility of one, the uncertainty, the maybe. And this is exactly what slot machines exploit. You don't win every time. You might not win for hours, but you might win on the very next pull. So you go again and again and again. Not because you're addicted to winning, because you're addicted to the possibility of winning. Now replace the slot machine lever with your thumb. Replace the spinning reels with an infinite feed. Replace the jackpot with a video that makes you laugh, a headline that shocks you, a photo that makes you feel something you can't even name. The mechanism is completely identical. In 1950, a psychologist named B.F. Skinner proved that the most addictive reward schedule isn't constant reward, it's random reward, unpredictable. Sometimes yes, sometimes no, never arriving exactly when you expect it. He called it variable reward reinforcement. And every major social media platform on Earth is engineered on this exact principle. Instagram's own engineers have admitted they tested the timing of likes, deliberately delaying notifications, batching them together, so they hit you harder when they finally arrived. More anticipation, more dopamine, more compulsion to come back. Sean Parker, one of Facebook's founding presidents, said this in a public interview, and I want you to really sit with these words. How do we consume as much of your time and conscious attention as possible? We give you a little dopamine hit every once in a while. It's a social validation feedback loop. We knew this, we understood this consciously, and we did it anyway. They knew exactly what they were building, and they built it anyway. The dark side. But dopamine is just the surface layer, because here's where it gets genuinely disturbing. These platforms don't just want your attention, they want your emotional attention. And they discovered something early on that changed everything. Outrage keeps you scrolling longer than happiness. A 2021 internal Facebook study, leaked by whistleblower Frances Haugen, revealed that the algorithm was actively amplifying content that triggered anger, fear, and anxiety, not because anyone set out to make the world angrier, but because the data was undeniable. Angry people scroll more, anxious people check back more. Fearful people simply cannot look away. So the algorithm learned. It optimized. Got frighteningly good at identifying exactly what makes you, specifically you, not anyone else, feel something strong enough to freeze your thumb mid-air. And it doesn't stop at content. Your phone knows when you usually feel lonely, knows which time of night your defenses are lowest, knows which emotional triggers are uniquely yours. And it serves you a feed calibrated precisely to that vulnerability. Tristan Harris, a former Google design ethicist, calls it a race to the bottom of the brainstem. Every app competing to bypass your rational mind and hit the most primitive, automatic parts of your brain. Before your conscious self even realizes what's happening, your rational mind takes about half a second to activate after a stimulus. Your thumb, already moving, the scroll happens before the thought. That's not an accident, that's the design, the twist. Now here's the detail that reframes everything. The people who built these systems, many of them don't use them. Steve Jobs didn't give his children iPads. When a journalist asked him in 2010 whether his kids loved the iPad, he said, "They haven't used it. We limit how much technology our kids use at home." A significant number of senior Silicon Valley executives send their children to screen-free Waldorf schools. Schools that explicitly ban technology in the classroom. The architects of the attention economy built high walls around their own minds while selling the door keys to everyone else. But there's something even more unsettling than that. The more you scroll, the worse the content gets. Not because the algorithm is malfunctioning, because it's working exactly as designed. Every time you scroll past something, you send a signal. Not enough. Give me something stronger. And the algorithm responds. Each session, the content shifts. Slightly more extreme, slightly more emotionally charged, slightly more precisely targeted to hold you for just one more second. Researchers call this the engagement spiral. And it doesn't just shape what you watch. Over time, it shapes what you find funny, what makes you angry, what feels normal, what feels threatening. The algorithm isn't just consuming your hours, it is quietly, incrementally, reshaping the architecture of your attention. Now what? So what do you actually do with this? First, awareness alone rewires something. Your brain is measurably less vulnerable to manipulation it can consciously name. That's not a small thing. Second, remove the apps from your home screen. Research shows that adding just 2 extra taps reduces usage by up to 20%. You don't need superhuman willpower. You just need enough friction to let your rational brain catch up to your thumb. Third, charge your phone outside your bedroom. The first and last 10 minutes of your day are when your brain is most vulnerable. Protect those windows, but here's the thought I want to leave you with. You were never lazy. You were never weak. You were never undisciplined. You were playing a game designed by teams of hundreds, backed by billions of dollars, refined by trillions of data points. A game engineered from the ground up so that you would lose. The fact that you paused, that you watched this, that you asked the question, that's not nothing. That's the one move they never fully accounted for. If this felt uncomfortably familiar, send it to someone who needs to hear it. And if you want to understand the next invisible system shaping your decisions without your permission, that video is already up.